Okay, so now I'm going to introduce you to 6 characters for Anima Tactics. These 6 characters we're going to get to know a little bit better as this series continues. But I thought I would take the moment to introduce them because this is a powerful method of explaining how factions and organizations work. So starting from the right side of your screen, working our way left, we've got Claire Adelheid. We've got Damien. Then we've got Xavier. This is Lorenzo, one of my personal favorites. And then you have Alessa Raincross. And finally you have Kirsten. So these are the 6 characters that we're going to be using. Just to let you know, they are different organizations and different alignments. So let's have a look at a couple of these. So right now, this is, I'm looking at the card for Claire Adelheid. And there's a couple of symbols that you're looking for when you are looking at these models with the intent of purchasing them or adding them to your party. So on the right side of the card here, you have what is called your organizational symbol. In each organization, there are 6 in this game. Each organization has its own symbol. This happens to be the symbol for the Empire, which is essentially one of the Knight factions. I'll show you that as we get into those. And then over here, this is a symbol for Light faction. So this is a Light faction character from the Empire organization. Okay? Another example here. We've got Damien. Okay, and now Damien has the organizational symbol for the church. So he's part of the church organization. And then this faction or alignment symbol is for neutral. So neutral church. Here's Kirsten. Azure Alliance is her organization, and she's also neutral. Okay, so now, well, and then a couple more, why not? Xavier is church, and he's a dark faction. And then you've got Lorenzo, who is Wissenschaft, is his organization, and he's from the Light faction. And finally, we have Alessa Raincross, who is Wissenschaft, dark faction. Okay, so here's the main thing to know. When you are looking at a character, every character has a faction and an organization. And so essentially, one way to look at this is they have 2 modes of which they can be added to a party, either along their faction or along their organization. And the simple way to remember this is as follows. If you are building a party according to its faction, then you are free to ignore its organization. And if you are building a party according to an organization, then you are free to ignore its faction. And let's go through some working examples using these 6 characters right here. So, start with Lorenzo, who is a Light faction character from Wissenschaft. Okay, so can Lorenzo be paired with, we'll say, Claire? Can those 2 be paired with, or paired up as part of the same party? And the answer is yes. Now, Lorenzo may be from the Wissenschaft organization. Sorry about the glare. Whoa, I really got to fix that. And Claire is part of the Empire. However, I can put these 2 together in a Light faction party. So I can declare my party as Light faction, and in which case I ignore these symbols here on the right. I don't care about those anymore. I'm looking for either Light or neutral. So I can add Damien to this party and declare it a Light faction party. Notice 3 different organizations. I don't care about those organizations. I only care about the alignments. However, I cannot do Claire, who is Light faction. I cannot put her on the same team as, say, Alessa Raincross, because Alessa Raincross is dark faction. So when you're putting a party together based on faction, you cannot mix a light you cannot mix light and dark faction characters. Right? So these two cannot be together. However, can Alessa Raincross be paired with Lorenzo? The answer is yes and no. Okay? So, if we were playing as a faction-based party, I could not pair these two because I have a dark faction character and I have a light faction character. However, what if I went the other way and I decided I'm going to do an organization-based party? So I'm going to do Wissenschaft. In which case, if I'm going organization, then I'm free to ignore the factions of the characters. And I'm just looking at that symbol on the right now. So, Lorenzo has the Wissenschaft organization, and so does Alessa. So yes, you can pair these two together, even though one's light and one's dark, if you are setting up your party as an organization. So, I hope that clears it up a little bit. You can play either faction-based, in which case these two characters are not compatible, or you can play organization-based, in which case these two characters are compatible. Is there a preference? Well, a lot of people like to play organization because there are organization advantages, and I'll cover that a little bit. And that's a fun little advantage because each of the organization does have some really cool stuff that they can do to kind of change up their playstyle or give your party a little bit more identity. However, I would not totally dismiss the concept of playing faction-based parties, because faction-based parties may not have specific organizational advantages. However, what they do have is you can mix and match a lot of different types of models. So your breadth of models kind of expands a little bit. You don't have the same restrictions on things like Wanderers, for example, if you are playing faction-based play. So you've got a lot of cool things going there with either mode. And the way I like to look at it is you've got every time you buy a model, you're basically buying into two different potential types of parties. So that is a very confusing part of the game. I won't lie. It's a part of the game that makes it incredibly hard for an absolute beginner to walk up to these boxes and be able to know what they can choose and what they can't choose. Mainly because there's so much flexibility behind it. There are very few configurations. With these 6 models I've got here, there are very few configurations which are not legal, because I've got a good mix of light, dark, and neutral, and then I've got all different kinds of organizations here. So this is the first video in the series about faction versus organization, and we will see you on the next one.